Great, thank you. And oh, it's so loud. Thank you so much for staying. I know this is kind of the last one, so hopefully it will be a short and fun one. But before I jump in, I kind of wanted to get a quick pulse on who had heard of Postmates prior to either meeting me this weekend for that. Okay, that's a pretty good amount. And now, kind of curious who has heard of our competitors. So Amazon, Uber, Grubhub, Seamless. Yeah, so that was kind of the problem that Postmates was facing when I joined about 8 months ago, was that we had an awareness problem in a very competitive space, on-demand delivery, with a lot of big players with massive budgets. So for those of you who haven't heard of Postmates before, we are an on-demand app, so we deliver anything from anywhere. So that could be your dinner tonight, it could be alcohol, it could be a straightener to your hotel if you forgot one, not like that's happened to me recently, but really deliver anything, anywhere. We're in 250 cities. So Postmates, when I joined, didn't actually have a brand marketing team, so I've just been kind of building it. It primarily grew through word of mouth, through user acquisition, through social, some influencer marketing and PR, but really had never had a top-of-funnel strategy for building awareness and kind of doing that to compete with our competitors. So we launched our first 360 ad campaign in January, so it's been out for about 9 weeks now, which was pretty exciting. But kind of, actually in comparison to the talk from Lizz from A&W Restaurants yesterday, was kind of saying her franchisees were begging her to do bulletins and she was trying to pull them offline. I had this complete opposite challenge. So I was trying to take an app company and convince them that billboards were relevant and why we should use them. And so to do that, we pulled together a kind of set of data inputs that we pulled in from the company and pulled together into a great creative brief that would inform a really interesting set of out-of-home marketing, but that was really rooted in customer behaviors. So on the customer side, so when I first got to Postmates, we didn't really have a lot of marketing research, so we weren't entirely sure who our customers were. All we collect on the app level was your address and your name. So what we did was a big survey. I did a lot of customer interviews. I did, I think, like 30 in my first week. Ran a survey to figure out just who we were talking to. And what we found was that our customers were very millennial, which was in line with what we thought as an app company. But they also skewed female. So that was kind of interesting. So initially, Postmates had thought our customers were about 50-50. But it turned out we were really heavily skewed female. So that was really insightful for our marketing. And then also during both the customer interviews, the qualitative side, but also a lot of social listening, what I found was that our customers were incredibly funny. And they already had a really interesting relationship with Postmates. So a lot of them really thought of Postmates as kind of a friend in their life. There's this ongoing meme that Postmates is your boyfriend. So Postmates, like, oh, I'm having dinner with my boo Postmates tonight. My most stable relationship is with Postmates. There was a lot of these insights that we were seeing just repeat over and over on social. And so that was really heartening and something we knew we wanted to bring into this campaign. Then on the competitive side, so we ran our very first brand tracker, which was pretty exciting to see what the landscape looked like and what our place was in it. And what we found was pretty interesting. So the biggest category driver in on-demand delivery isn't kind of one of the fundamentals that you think might be, like I use a brand because it's quick, or I use a brand because of the delivery fees. It's actually, people use brands because of the social attributes. So if your friends use Postmates, you use Postmates. If your friends use DoorDash, you use DoorDash. It really depends on your coworkers, family, friends, and what you hear the brand being talked about. So we knew we needed a campaign that would get talked about and kind of help us in that space. And then we looked at what our advantages were. So luckily we had some competitive advantages compared to these really big guys in the space. We were very relevant on pop culture, so we kind of naturally, a lot of celebrities use us, they talk about us. We're in a lot of TV shows without. It's kind of magic, actually. I don't know how it happens. It just does, thank God. So we were really relevant in pop culture, and we also were known for our variety. So Uber Eats and Amazon restaurants really only deliver food, but we deliver alcohol, we deliver products, consumer products, 7-Eleven, as you mentioned on the first day. So we deliver everything, and so people were noticing that, and we were standing out for it. And then finally, contextual. So we knew we wanted to launch this campaign in Los Angeles. It's our biggest market where we have the strongest market share. And also where we're the most popular, but we knew there was room for growth. And so I looked really deeply into the behavior in that market. And so when we were planning out the out-of-home campaign, we looked at both app opens and downloads and kind of did a heat map. And then used our placements to determine where we were under-penetrated and put the billboards there. We also looked at order trends. So what was popular in Los Angeles at the time? What was changing? We looked at like acai bowls, for instance. We're up 240% year over year. So that was a really interesting insight. And so we kind of pulled all of these together into a full set of data from customer competitive, contextual, pulled it all together, started RFPing agencies, brought on our first AOR, which is 180 LA, and they're like my ride or die. I love them. And so this is what they came back with. So our campaign is We Get It. So it really ties into the story of like we completely understand our customers. We have the same sense of humor as them. We know what they want and what they need. But we also get them literally everything they want anywhere. So this is how some of the lines are playing out. So when you're vegan but you're drunk, carnitas tacos, we get it. So this is actually based on an insight. So there's a cohort of people who primarily order vegan food during the day, but at night they switch over to meat products after 10 p.m. Yeah, so this is one of our most popular lines, except with PETA and vegans. And then we placed it above a Chipotle, so really contextually relevant. When you eat a brownie that makes you want 500 brownies, we get it, placed right above a dispensary. The perfect drink to spill on your friend's live, laugh, love throw pillow, rosé, we get it. So this is kind of tying in our line, rosé, kind of showing that we deliver alcohol. And this was placed in a neighborhood where we knew we were kind of underpenetrated on the drinks. We had high orders on food, but low on drinks. So that was kind of how the campaign looks. It's 50 executions across LA. And so we're kind of just starting to get a lot of the feedback for it right now. So what's been super exciting, again, is seeing the hilarious responses of our users. So on the left, the billboard there is one of our most controversial. When you want to ironically toast the country that secretly controls ours, vodka, we get it. And this user, what does Postmates know, and when do they know it? And I can't really go into that. That's part of my Mueller interview later. And then when you want omakase but your bra's off, and this user says, when Postmates puts this across the street from your apartment building, it's hard not to feel like you're being trolled by a friend. So that was really the exact sentiment we were going for with these lines, is we get you, we're trolling you, kind of leaning, again, as people mentioned earlier today, trying not to be snarky about it, just understanding you and getting in on the joke with you. And it's been pretty much insane, actually, the amount of social posts. This is like a tiny segment of them, but every day I'm in our Snap and Insta seeing people share this. And so it's so fun to see a campaign that's completely offline be brought online by our users and have them share it and do all this amplification with us. So then how are we tracking it? Of course, everyone on our user acquisition team is wondering this, but luckily they're all looking into it. We have a brand tracker, so that hasn't come in yet. We're still running this campaign right now, but we'll know in 3 weeks how it's performing on the awareness side in Los Angeles, looking at changes in consideration and a brand affinity. And then we're also looking at the organic growth, so kind of looking longitudinally across different markets, looking at if organic opens and downloads have increased in Los Angeles, and so far the data there has been really positive. And then the social amplification, which I'm pretty sure we're like knocked that one out, which I'm excited about. So next steps. So what's really fun about this is that it's a campaign that lives as a platform. It can be easily transferred to different markets. So we're bringing this to New York in 4 weeks. And so that's a whole new set of inputs. So it's a different market. The consumers there are a little bit more higher educated, higher income. And what's most notable in New York is that the first reason someone tried Postmates for the first time in New York is because a restaurant they loved was on the platform. So in most markets, it's because we gave you a free delivery. So this was pretty significant that that was the case. And so because of that, we've tailored the whole approach for this campaign to tie in top restaurants. So we're working with Shake Shack, Milk Bar, Tacombe, Halal Guys, Meatball Shop, by Chloe, and pulling in really funny lines for all these brands and kind of getting them to also co-promote that to their audiences too. So it's a really merchant-driven campaign that we think will break through and help compete with Seamless in New York. So yes, that is the story of bringing Postmates to the offline world. And open to any questions.
Liz, that was great. Thank you. Any quick questions of Liz?
How did, as far as your media team and sort of selecting the actual out-of-home locations, were they utilizing your guys' insights for that?
Yeah. So they were working with their general manager of Los Angeles, who could pull like the open data and kind of look at where we were getting orders from, in which neighborhoods. We also have the challenge of being a three-sided marketplace. So then we'd also have to line it up with where do we have great restaurant coverage, where do we have great fleet coverage, line all of that up. So we were only advertising in places that had room to grow.
And are you using things like geofencing and geolocation to understand how people may be, if at all, reacting to specific out-of-home or in particular areas in relationship to all of this physical media?
Yeah, so we have our team, actually they're working on like the report this week of our data analysts are looking at that and kind of actually trying to tie like, did vodka sales increase in the span radius around the vodka ad, and kind of really tying into the, on like more of the micro level around the specific placements. And we also did 2 different flights of out of home, so we're comparing the 2 and the neighborhood differences between those.
So I'm curious, just as a wrap question, since we've heard throughout the last 3 days a lot of these clever instances of leveraging clever creative, how, and if at all, this works its way up through the entire customer experience. I mean, now you've got a voice, right? Mm-hmm. You've got an attitude, you've got a cleverness and a cuteness. Are there ways in which, or are you thinking about how this informs all touch points and all experiences with the brand, so that when somebody gets a delivery from Postmates or is on customer service or in any of those touch points, somehow that voice is still coming through and it's informed, you're informing everybody throughout the company that this is who we are?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So this did stem from the brand marketing team, which is me and a few other people. It's pretty small, but we've been starting to layer it into the other departments. So now our email marketing team, which sits under growth, a lot of our emails pull in We Get It lines. We kind of have a series of cadences through that channel. We actually also, when we launched the campaign, got the app to feature it. So our app, which is like very precious, that's a big deal to pull marketing into product. But we have a series of carousels of messaging. We had a full takeover of We Get It. So every single line in the app took on this voice, and so it mimicked the out of home, which was really fun. And we saw people screenshotting it more than ever, and so that worked really well. So we have been kind of pulling it into each touch point.
Liz, thank you very much. That was great.